Now that you've been able to view the empowerment video that is in both your Blackboard module and in these slides, and take a look at some specific terms that I pulled from our text this week, I want to just do a quick summary and wrap up before you move on to your discussion board. Hopefully you've had a chance to dip into that a little bit and read through. I want you to think about this chapter 2, as almost the first tier of multi-tiered support systems. Tier 1, I want you to think of it as universal. I want you to think of it as a lot of the concepts are things you might be reading and thinking, well, that's part of general education. That's part of our big world. Excuse me. It is, but we need to start taking a look at it with a specific focus on special education and for and with individuals with disabilities. Now that we've defined the slides before some very specific special education terms, I'd like you to think a little bit different way about some of the very common strategies and frameworks we use in all schools and how they apply to special education and individuals with disabilities. For example, the chapter did a nice job of summarizing what we've come to know as culturally responsive practices, and how do we honor all of the lived experiences from our students, collective students, our student body, and our community, and how that, maybe that's new for you to think about being culturally responsive for individuals with disabilities. The same thing goes for the section on approaches that we can use to minimize and eliminate ableism in our schools and communities by using cultural justice approaches and ways, restorative justice, and ways to specifically root out and deal with the problems that occur not only for people that are different within our culture, people who have disabilities, but people who also experience double racism or double bias because they might be a person of color who also has a disability. On a personal note, I want to encourage you to widen your view of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's a hot topic right now, but I really want you to think about how, in my opinion, I think a lot of times we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion in divisive ways, and individuals with disabilities are sometimes left out of that conversation or consideration. I don't think we always think about physical and ability differences when we talk about diversity, equity, and that big word inclusion that we use so much in education. I want to encourage you to advocate with individuals with disabilities and think about ways you can do that in your community, in your life. But I also want to break a little bit of what Emily Ladow talked about and encourage you to advocate for individuals with disabilities as an educational professional. So you are an educational professional, and you can advocate within the educational arena for your students with disabilities. That's part of what we need to do. One of the last things we talked about was restorative justice in that chapter, and what I don't think I could do a better job of giving a summary of that. If that's something that you use in your school, consider giving us an example in our discussion board for this week. Or if it's not something you're familiar with, this is an excellent summary and a place to maybe just tweak your interest. But what I want you to notice is that this chapter doesn't really talk about any academic strategies or approaches. And remember, we're starting with a foundation, and we're starting with the biggest ideas first. We're starting with those global issues that reach clearly across cultures and across groups and across our communities, to really think about centering what that looks like when we're talking about working with individuals with disabilities. Please go ahead and click through the next few slides about your discussion board. I want to encourage you to share and respond in only ways that you are comfortable this week. It's a big topic to tackle in our second week and only our first discussion board, but I encourage you to choose a term or an idea that you are familiar with and that you can give an example of, and respond with kindness and respect as we all stretch our ideas and our work. Please contact me with any questions. Dig deep into the resources as The ball has started rolling, and we will start with a little bit more of some tasks and active learning in the next couple of weeks.